Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that all of the film has been watched and the grades are finalized, it's time to break down the 2019 NFL Draft prospect rankings. Before we dive into the prospect rankings video, let's take a look at how we go about grading these guys on film. For the skill positions, we take a look at a prospect's best and worst games statistically and the best matchup before we finalize his film grade. And from there, the player is assigned a grade on a 100-point scale. We don't believe in the term backup per se. If you're in the NFL, you're one of the best players at your position, so we consider you a starter in waiting, or at least that's how I would look at it if I'm a GM or a head coach. So without further ado, let's dive into the video with our number one graded prospect at the position. Kicking off our final crop of wide receiver rankings with the inside group, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside of Stanford graded out as inside receiver number one for the 2019 class. First of all, arguably the best hands in the entire class this year in my opinion. Arcega-Whiteside has elite level hand-eye coordination and the razor-sharp focus to haul in any pass thrown his way. Because he doesn't have the benefit of elite speed per se, it has forced him to become extremely proficient in his route running. He's outstanding in this area in my opinion. He's position flexible, having the ability to play inside or out on the perimeter, and reminds me a lot of another former Stanford Cardinal in the Seattle Seahawks star Doug Baldwin. I'm a big fan of this class of inside receivers. All of these guys I would want on my football team. Looking at the rest of the top 10, lil'Jordan Humphrey out of Texas is a really good wideout that you can tell by just watching him play that he truly enjoys the game of football. Tyree Brady was one of the more athletic receivers in this group. He knows how to use his body to play high post, box out, post up, or contort his body in such a way that he's able to make the acrobatic catch. Jalen Hurd of Baylor has the biggest upside of anyone in this group and could arguably be the best weapon because of his background as a running back. And we saw that this year at times with the Baylor Bears and how they used him as if he was back at Tennessee. To me, that element makes you not want to take him off the field. Cody Thompson of Toledo does a fantastic job of reading coverages on the fly and creating opportunities for himself to receive the football. Hakeem Butler, Cameron Lewis, and also Keon Duverger of UVA-Wise are guys that can be instant red zone targets as rookies while continuing to develop and refine their game as nuanced route runners. Butler, to me, reminds me a lot of Brandon Coleman, who played for the New Orleans Saints. Two small college guys I want to spotlight within this top 10 are Reggie White Jr. of Monmouth and Justin Sumter of Kennesaw State. White was one of the top receivers in the FCS and was highly productive for the Hawks throughout his career. He's another player that got better each and every season. His best trait is his ability to pluck the football out of the air, and it has very underrated run after the catch skills. There's even a path for him to play on the outside as a split end as he continues to develop. I believe he plays bigger than his already big size and should make a smooth transition into the pro game. Justin Sumter should also be able to make that transition smooth as well. Despite coming out of a triple option offense, he raised a lot of eyebrows in a positive way down at the College Gridiron Showcase with his route running polish. You can tell he's been working on that since the Owls season ended deep into the playoffs. As far as catching the ball is concerned, he's A+ in that area, which you don't get when you don't get as many opportunities to catch football because of your offense. You definitely want to make sure you make the most of the ones that you do get. He's able to lay out 4 receptions, make grabs with defensive backs draped all over him, and is also solid after the catch. He's a deep sleeper to keep an eye on moving forward. Moving on to prospects 11 through 20, DeMarcus Lodge of Ole Miss and Keyshawn Johnson of Fresno State are coming off solid weeks at the East-West Shrine game. I can see former Indiana Hoosier tight end Jordan Fuchs, who's now a wide receiver at Friends University, and Stephen Carlson of Princeton, as well as Tyree McCants of South Florida, grow into more H-back pseudo tight end types at the next level. And I also really like the versatility of Griffin Norberg of Valparaiso. He had a really good week back in December at the FCS Bowl down in Daytona Beach, Florida. Richard Johnson of East Texas Baptist showed very good elusiveness on film. I also liked his physical toughness as well. Down at the National Bowl this past December, I got the chance to see how what I saw on film was going to translate to the step up in competition that he faced out there all week at practice, and he was able to acclimate himself really well, even showing the ability to play inside, which is how he landed here on our inside receivers rankings list. He's a small college prospect with some very good upside. Ladarius McElroy of Ouachita Baptist has the off-the-bus look about him when you see him initially, a big physically imposing guy, but then he starts to play, and he plays exactly like you thought he would play when you saw him get off the bus. He was a receiver for the Tigers, but I do think he'll eventually end up as a flex tight end as a pro. He has the mentality that every ball thrown his way is his and his only, and does what it takes to go up and grab it. He's got solid footwork, good release off the line of scrimmage, and is a willing blocker. Wrapping up the entire receiver rankings with prospects 21 through 26. Sorry about that, as the graphic left off number 26, but Quimic Elfrish of Mississippi Valley State was impressive at both the FCS and Tropical Bowl All-Star games, showcasing outside potential at the pro level. I thought he was fantastic all week long. Thomas Ives of Colgate does a great job of high pointing the football and blocking on the perimeter. Both yield itself to him having success as a pro as an inside threat. Joe Walker is a player to keep an eye on that definitely has some intrigue. He was a former quarterback at Delaware that recently moved over to wide receiver and has a ton of athleticism. You start to see him get confidence each and every week this past season, and subsequently he led the Blue Hens in receiving, both in yards and catches. I think Walker has a chance to surprise in rookie camp. He's going to be a name to follow as this draft process goes along. Tevin Eisen was a prospect that was left off of the graphic at number 26, but make no mistake about it, his game isn't forgettable. He's an outstanding special teamer with good route running ability and doesn't show fear going over the middle of the field. I thought he was another one that had a really good week of work at the FCS Bowl out there in Daytona Beach, Florida. I think special teams play will be his calling card initially, while slowly working himself into the offense. So that's a wrap here from the Football Game Plan Studios. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast. We can find our Scout Team podcast, which has a lot of 2019 NFL Draft prospect interviews. And also be sure to subscribe on YouTube to the Football Game Plan Network, located at youtube.com/footballgameplan.